Namaskar. This year on June 5th, that is World Environment Day, United Nations celebrated internationally in 200 member countries World Environment Day with the theme Connecting People with Nature. Now we have 7,510 million people on this planet, which is the only place where there is a living biosphere in this entire big giant universe. So there is an added responsibility on all of us to care for this planet and leave behind the species which this planet has evolved over billions of years for posterity, for future generations, so as to maintain the balance of biosphere, ecosystems, habitats, and all the species which make this life very beautiful and our life also beautiful. The first thing that I remembered on World Environment Day was a person whom I should invite for this Ghazali program of Prudent Media, which is very popular among all the people who want new knowledge and like to know from different personalities their experiences in life and their lifetime's contributions. I remembered Professor D.J. Bhatt. Today we have in the studio for this Ghazali interaction program Professor D.J. Bhatt, who is well known internationally as a mycologist, and he has worked in 3 continents and he has almost half a century devoted to mycology. So I welcome you, sir, and also on behalf of the entire state of Goa, people of Goa, your students and entire academic fraternity of Goa, I congratulate you for having been awarded the prestigious Doctor of Science degree of the prestigious and historic University of Madras. It is a great accomplishment, sir. So today I think we can look into your mycological journeys. And the first question that came to my mind was, you were born and brought up in the foothills of Western Ghats. So how you started building connection with nature, which led you at a later age to connection with fungi?
Thank you, Dr. Kamath. Very thankful to the Prudent also for this opportunity. Like any other child, younger age was very unique and very innocent. That's what the life is for a child. So I was born and brought up in a small village in Western Ghats, Karnataka state. And the place name is called Irde, the village name, and our house name is Darbe. I belong to a Purohit family. My father was a well-known Purohit those days. But like any other family in the early times, we were a big family of 11 members. I was the 7th in the line, and undivided family of a house with some 50 children.
You were born, I think, within 2 years of India's independence, I believe.
Yes, yeah. I was born in 1949. Yeah. 1949 in November. And those days, education was really tough. And my father wanted I to be a Purohit. But everyone knew at the time that this was not the line one should take. So I was also very keen to learn something else.
But in this sense, I think you have fulfilled your dear father's wishes, because Purohitism is also intellectualism, and that you transferred to mycology. That's
yes. Father was quite happy that I went to school and did all the education what was required. And younger days was pretty tough because we had to travel long distances for my schooling. Upper primary, higher secondary and high school, all this by foot.
So it was very tough, sir, for in that remote village in Western Ghat, every day walking
yes.
10 kilometers to and fro for your schooling.
And it was really tough. Just to cite an example, I got my first footwear when I was in SSLC. Yes. So it was all a barefoot walking those days. and
But sir,
kerosene
that
lamps.
also brought you, I believe, that later on, almost means half century you devoted to mycological journeys intensively, very intensively. You discovered lots of new species, you erected lots of new taxa, you trained so many young mycologists. Do you think that, while walking all this means you were consciously or subconsciously building some friendship, some connectivity with nature in that beautiful place of yours?
Yes, because you see, we were walking long distances, were all on field bunds, cultivated field bunds, and in the forest. So, even in the childhood days, we were fascinated by seeing how this huge amount of litter would get decomposed, and suddenly you will see some mushrooms. So, these tiny living organisms, insects, all these were fascinating.
While you
for
were
us.
schooling, you never thought that this would be later you would be.
True. It was. I never thought it would be my career, which I will devote my entire
So
life.
what
for
about your
this.
higher education? At exactly which point you thought that you would owe your almost entire life to mycology? There must be some moment in every scientist's life when
Yes.
the scientist decide that this is my going to be vocation.
Yes. See, when I was doing my undergraduate course, botany, zoology, and chemistry, I was not very sure which line I would take. But when I joined for my MSc program, I had a paper on microbiology.
That was at Mangalore, I believe.
In Mangalore, it was under Mysore University Postgraduate Center, Mangalore.
At that time, I think Karnataka state was not carved out as a separate state. It was
No, it
Mysore
was
state.
a separate state.
Mysore state, as a Mysore
Yes,
state.
Mysore state. And but Mangalore University was not
not
established at the time. And I had a very interesting teacher, young dynamic teacher, Professor K.M. Kaveri, who was a microbiologist, who was a specialist on downy mildew of grapes those days. And he introduced me to the fungal world. And he advised me that I should take training under a very renowned mycologist, very dynamic, Professor C.V. Subramaniam, late Professor C.V. Subramaniam, who was a professor of mycology in University of Madras. So after completing my MSc, my father said, I can do anything as long as I am not a burden to my family. So I traveled to Madras by train. That was my first train journey to Madras. And I went to Professor C.V. Subramaniam. He readily agreed to take me because he thought that young minds. There is a very interesting saying Professor Subramaniam would tell those days, that if I get a hard-working student, I will make him as a first-rate mycologist in India. I don't need an intelligent student. I want a very hard-working student. A basic, that was the philosophy on which he worked. And apparently I fulfilled his desires in my first year of training. So first year I did my post-MSc diploma in mycology and plant pathology. And soon after I joined for my PhD program. 3 years of that training, what I took from Madras University, was remarkable.
Yeah, that brings me to the most interesting question is that, that when you make a discovery, you really understand the magic and thrill and adventure of science. And you have so many occasions in your great, almost half-century journey where C.V. Subramaniam was like that guiding light.
Yes.
And what I see is that you were so excited, I believe, when your father was watching you, and you mentioned somewhere, I believe, that he was also trying to help you out with some specimens.
Yes. See, for my project PhD program was primarily to look into microfungi, one group called hypocreolin fungi. Doesn't matter which group, but this group of fungi appear only in the forest litter. So, in search of these fungi,
You mean to say that they have to be there for recycling of
recycling of this
They do a
dead
great
organic
ecosystem
matter.
service.
True.
Yeah.
And they were the primary decomposers because of their variety of enzymes that they secrete. And these fungi occur only in the wild forest.
There wasn't much knowledge before C.V.
Much-
Subramaniam
true.
started work.
There was not much of fungal knowledge from India those days. And looking for these fungi, I traveled the entire Western Ghats, right from Mahabaleshwar down to Kanyakumari. And most of these journeys I did by foot. And length and breadth of the Western
So
Ghats
how was
region.
your first discovery? I mean, what was the feeling when you made a
Okay.
first discovery of a new species of fungus? Because getting a new species of fungus is a really exciting thing because it's a new addition to science,
Yes.
new addition to your local state, area, region, country. It is advancement of science.
Yes. See, this precisely in the year 1976, after 6 months of my joining for PhD program, I went on a field trip to the Madikeri forest, Coorg forest, and Professor Kaverappa was with me. He was very young in those days, and both of us went to Abbi Falls. It is one of the waterfalls region where the decaying twigs of coffee.
It's somewhere now in Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve.
No, it is very close to Madikeri.
Madikeri.
In the
It is
Western
famous,
Ghats
I
region.
think, for tender
It
coconuts
is
and all these things.
it is near to Nagarhole Wildlife Sanctuary,
Wildlife.
and in the coffee estates, we collected some twigs and we saw some very tiny fungal groups appearing. And these samples, when we brought back to Madras and examined under the microscope, they gave us one very interesting fungus which simply excited us. And same day I showed them to Professor C.V. Subramanian. He said it should be something new to science. And that is where the journey started in a big way. And this is the Bahusutra Bija Dvaya fungus.
Sir, in your entire, that full scientific research work, there is something Swadeshi, right?
Yes.
That we have a great language in India which gave us Vedas, Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and we have a really magnificent cultural ethos also. But that mostly the fashion is that when we name a species and all, we borrow mostly some foreign names and all.
Yes.
But I think in Madras University, your guide C.V. Subramaniam and yourself and perhaps other PhD students and
Yes.
scholars also started naming new species of fungi, I think, using
Sanskrit language.
Could you tell little more about
Yes. See, Professor Subramaniam was equal, as he was a great scientist, he was also a great scholar in Sanskrit.
this? I see.
He was well read, he knew lots of scientific Upanishads, the Vedic Upanishads and so on, Sanskrit scholarly writings he knew. And he was so fond of using the Sanskrit names. So if you look at some of the fungi that we have named,
how you describe, sir, Bahusutra Bija?
Bahusutra Bija, I will tell you, it's very interesting. Yeah. This fungus produces spores, which are actually the seeds of fungi, and they have threads all over. Sutra means thread. Bahu means many. So many a spore with many threads. Bahusutra Bija.
So it explains also the description of fungus is in one word.
So most of these Sanskrit names he used to imply what it looks like.
Like you had an Ardhachandra genus also.
Yes, Ardhachandra, which is a lunar shaped spores. Then
recently
variety of these fungi we used either the color or the shape of the spores and star shaped fungal spores.
So all this work, that when we are discussing connectivity of scientists who do lot of field work in nature, that what are the types of personality traits, I mean what qualities are required for this type of really rigorous field work? Because today we see that it is a fast moving world, and you people, those days 1970s, 80s, 90s, you were braving hot sun, torrential monsoon showers, you were all traveling on the Western Ghats, I mean for kilometers, sometimes living on railway stations and all this. What are the qualities which are required? Because India is a great country with lot of physiographic diversity, lot of biodiversity, but really we need large number of new students to carry forward now this research in biodiversity. So what are the traits which are required? What are the qualities which are required in the young generation if they want to come to this area of biodiversity research?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kamath. This is a very interesting question you asked, and I would like to address this especially for our students, young minds. See, what is required is the dedicated mind, a fully concentrated one. See, as we have the young engineers and doctors, we also need good scientists for this country.
Yes.
And this scientific interest should come in the young mind at a young age. So, enormous concentration and love for nature, this is required. And one should not worry about the rain or sun, and you should be able to go anywhere. And for that matter, fungi are at their best, fruiting during the monsoon season.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at the fungi, the fungal diversity, we should set out to these forests during rain. And if you go to any region in the Western
Could you
Ghats
recount
region,
some of your collection experiences across Western Ghats?
okay.
Just to
See, we have gone to Dudhsagar Fall, and I made some. I and my students, we did, and many of them you also joined with us. And these collection trips to Dudhsagar Falls, Molem Forest, then Anshi Ghat, and many of these forests we went along with the
Hills
students.
also, yes.
Kotachadri Hills.
Yana
is another region. It's not very far from here. And these forests, if you go and bring or look at those fallen litter, it's millions of fungi are there. All we
Sir,
need
what you
is
feel
an
that
interest.
now I think more than 100 species you have discovered, I think.
Yes.
I mean, I have not.
More than
lost the count,
150 species.
But
we
I
have
think still
described.
it is not a tip of the iceberg on planet.
It is just the tip of the iceberg.
Why you feel so?
Because if you bring a small quantity of litter, a handful of litter samples. Litter, I mean the
plant litter.
What you collect with the handful, the twigs and leaves, and if you bring and examine them, I bet you will get more than 100 species in one lot. All we need is to look at your eye and mind to sit behind the microscope and examine them. Of course, we have the latest tools now, the molecular tools which we can. And if you use these tools, the number of species probably will be in multifold.
So India has a huge amount of scope.
India has a
and
huge
Western
scope.
Ghats, being a biodiversity hotspot, you feel that it is still to be explored extensively.
What we know today is a small tip of them. And it is what we need actually is a team of mycologists, young dynamic mycologists. I'm sure we will have.
Sir, but I would like to like you to define that moment. Then you really felt that you have done something really good for eco conservation. That is, when you were young, you had been given a project in Silent Valley. Could you tell us how it led to conservation and preservation of Silent Valley from big projects in Kerala?
It's a very interesting episode what we did. You see, in 1977, there was a big movement it's all over the country about Silent Valley, because Kerala government wanted to build a dam across the river Kuntipula in Silent Valley. So the government was hell-bent, and at that time we had no clear policy of the environment protection and so on. So the late Mrs. Gandhi, Prime Minister of India, set up a team of scientists including Dr. Swaminathan and Professor C.V. Subramaniam and so on, M.G.K. Menon. All these people were the young, very dynamic scientists those days. So a big team was set up, and Professor Subramanian asked me to go to Silent Valley to collect the fungal samples to see the fungal diversity.
So you mean to say that that time Prime Minister Indira Gandhi took an informed decision. She wanted to know the scientific basis.
And she wanted actually the actual scientific reason. So the team consisted of plant taxonomies, then algologists, entomologists,
to cover the
entire spectrum of this biosphere.
What happened next?
So I went as a mycologist, young student I was those days, student of mycology, and we collected samples for 32 days. And believe me, we stayed in the forest for continuously 32 days. We were provided with food, a small tent and so on. And these samples were examined. And in the one collection, when we returned back to Madras and examined, within 15-20 days we examined and found out it contained more than 32 new species and 15 new genera.
Absolutely. And amazing.
It is not exaggeration if I tell that the Silent Valley forest was, the Silent Valley, the dam construction was stopped primarily because of the fungal diversity. The novelty which we showed.
So it was like a nursery of, that sanctuary of all these types of diverse fungal and other species.
Yes, and for that matter I want to tell you that the Mahadai river region, basin, if you ask me, they have similar fungi. So conservation of Mahadai region also is very important.
Yeah, it is also
from the point of
underexplored
fungi.
to the
It
last
is and I have seen many of the fungi what I saw earlier in the Silent Valley region are presently available in the Mahadai region.
Sir, throughout your career, you have believed that teaching and research goes hand in hand. Could you shed a little more light on the attributes of qualities of teaching, teachers, and your own experience of teaching mycology all these 40-50
Yes,
years?
and teaching and research should go on together. I tell this with all humility that a teacher and a student should spend a lot of time with science. It is not 10 to 5. You see, if you want to do research, you should spend a lot of time. And you should work extra hours to build not only your career and also to contribute to science. And that is the message I want to give to the younger people now, that if you, and Saturday, Sunday, we should not look as holidays.
Sir, you had now, your travels Africa. You were one of the first Indian scientists to go to Eritrea. It was Ethiopia at that time. And what was your experience? Now we have little time left now, where we can take now 2 points. Point number 1 is your experience in Ethiopia,
briefly,
and your experience later in Thailand. So first, let us talk about
I started my career in an African country. It was presently Eritrea, but it was earlier part of Ethiopia, in Asmara University, and that was my first work assignment, service assignment. I went there as an assistant professor, recruited by UNDP for Asmara University, United Nations
7
Development
years
Program,
there.
and I was there totally 7 years with a 2-year each contract. And I then I had got married, and both I and my wife went to Ethiopia, the Asmara University, and I didn't confine myself only with the teaching. I thought it was a great opportunity.
You moved all over country. It is a beautiful
all over
place.
the country, and I had a wonderful vice chancellor there who supported my inquisitiveness for
At that time, I think Haile Selassie was king of.
No, it was at the time partly a military ruler called Colonel Mengistu Haile Mariam.
But they were cooperative, I think.
But you see, they had a lot of respect for education.
But you left your imprint, I think, marked by publishing on Ethiopian fungi.
I published a series of papers on the fungi of Ethiopia.
Africans.
Yes. And all these publications were in the Transactions of British Mycological Society.
And I think the British mycologist also had a lot of regards for you, and they invited you also.
Yes, it is at that time that I went on a Royal Society Developing Country
Around
Fellowship.
1 year you were there.
And 1 year I was in Kew, in the Commonwealth Mycological Institute, and I worked primarily on the samples which I took from Ethiopia. So it was Ethiopian fungi on which
but
I
how
worked.
Ethiopians view Indians?
And they have enormous respect. And the Indians, there were many Indians in the early days, especially from Gujarat. They went as business people, traders, and they had a lot of respect for the teachers who came from India. And like me, there were quite a few teachers in the
post-retirement. Now you took another big leap across the ocean, and you were invited honorably to Thailand in one of the beautiful places.
Yes.
In little time that is available to us, I think, could you just...
I should tell you about my experience. It is a post-retirement, a small assignment. I spent 3 months in 2012 and 2.5 months in 2013 in Mayphulwang University in Thailand. Mayphulwang University is located in the city of Chiang Rai. That is the northernmost city in Thailand, and it is bordering Laos, Burma, and China. And Thailand is a friendly country for us, and Thai is the main language, and they also are quite advanced in science. And I went there with the invitation by Professor Kevin Hyde, who is an internationally renowned mycologist, and who also knew what I was doing earlier. And I went and I taught a paper on mycology for graduate students there, and it was a 2 months program, 16.
Also guided the PhD students.
And I also guided many PhD.
You must have done a lot of moving around, collecting.
And along with these students and Professor Kevin Hyde, I traveled around.
Did you get the same feeling like you were working in Western Ghat forest, in Thai forest? Almost same region.
Both these places are similar And many of the fungi what we see in India are available in Thailand also.
So the mycological journey which began from a village in foothills of Western Ghats, I mean it is amazing, sir, that over 50 years it took you across Asia and Africa, and also you could visit Canada, you could visit England, and you could integrate so much of knowledge, and you could open a absolutely, new window of tropical mycology.
Yeah.
And now, that if we were to really ask you in all humility that I could muster, because we also have learned a lot from you when you were teaching and doing research and guiding research at the university, and also taking administrative responsibility. In fact, if we are at all now celebrating the Foundation Day of Goa University, you are a great pillar of constructing, building that university and getting it the reputation which it has today. That is what I will be able to remark. But more than that, to conclude it, I would like you to give some sort of final remarks or message to all those viewers here of all ages, and especially the students, those who are dreaming in high schools, higher secondary colleges and all of high marks and switching to some lucrative professions, and all sorts of dreams which they have in their eyes. Now at age of 68 and still active, still writing, still interacting, still guiding a global community of students, what would be your message to those who are viewing this program?
Thank you, Dr. Namaste. This is what I want to tell the young people of all those who are watching us, that you look at the nature. It is a great gift for us. We are here because of this nature. So the environment is very dear to us, and I am very happy that the Prime Minister has initiated the Swachh Bharat program, and we need to do a great deal in Goa as far as this. And I am also very happy that from next year onwards we will not see much of plastic in the state, and these two will tell us in the cleanliness, very important for us, and we should also respect this nature. All this what we see around, we should leave it for posterity, for our children.
I think on that note, because you have emphasized now after watching so much in nature and how much knowledge nature has given us, actually our careers as biologists, I am a biologist, you are a biologist, we are grateful to biology because biology is derived from nature and biodiversity. And today as we interacted, we could see now that the United Nations this year has been appealing all member countries, protect the nature, care for nature, sustain the nature, conserve the nature. And that is why Professor Bhatt has been here in this studio today to interact with us and send a loud and clear message to all the viewers that please care for nature. Connecting nature was the theme this year for World Environment Day, and today we have heard from one of the greatest tropical mycologists, Professor D. Jayaram Bhatt, his lifetime's experiences, you should spread out that message and let every student, every youth take the vow that they will keep this country, their region, their area clean and neat and care for local biodiversity.
Thank you. Thank you very much.